Hello, Pam.
Hi, Dan. Great to see you again.
Really good to have you here and to talk about one of my favourite fruits. I know they're definitely one of yours, Seville Oranges. Tell me, what is it that you most love about the essence of the Seville Orange?
Well, they do bring a little bit of magic. I've got some here. They're a perfect package for marmalade because within this, you've got all those gorgeous things you need for marmalade. You've got pectin, you've got bitterness, you've got acidity, and you've got fragrance. And it's all wrapped up in this one little thing. Nature is an thing at times in the way it can actually produce something perfect for marmalade. And of course, we always say they have a belly full of pips, which are full of pectin. And there is far more pectin in the pith and the peel and the membranes than in the pips. And that's really good knowledge from a pectin producer.
So for anyone watching is probably thinking, what is this pectin? What is this? Is it a chemical? I don't want chemicals in my marmalade. Tell me, what is pectin in regards to marmalade making?
Pectin it's natural substances is found in all fruit and actually all vegetables, but in different quantities. And pectin is that lovely gooey substance that actually help make your marmalade set. But to also add into that recipe, you need the pectin, which we get in there, but you also need acidity. And that's where this orange, the Seville Orange, actually really outshines all the others because it's got pectin, but it's also got that acidity. So you've got that lovely balance, which will make your marmalade gel.
Now tell me, when people are starting on their road to marmalade making, certainly it was the case with me. I started eating Rose's lime marmalade because it was very gentle, tasted of sugar and happiness, I suppose. It didn't really taste it very much. Whereas my mother in Australia grew Seville oranges and had her marmalade, which was bitter and, to me as a child, sour and possibly frightening, I think.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it. No, as a child, I was terrified about it. Tell me, you love Seville orange marmalade. Tell me, what is it that you love about it?
Well, I think I like that perfect balance of bitterness, sweetness, and acidity. And also, and I have to bring in that word again, fragrance, because that's one of the joys of the Seville Orange. It is very fragrant. And another thing I love about the Seville Orange, and this also applies to grapefruit peel, it becomes beautifully translucent. If you take a sweet orange and try and make marmalade from it, that white pith will remain white, and somehow it becomes very peely then. So it's got all these lovely things, in fact, I've made some pink grapefruit marmalade this morning with some ginger in. I know which my favourite will be. It will actually be the Seville Orange marmalade.
Sounds delicious. I must say, as an adult, I completely love it. I wonder if it's a coming of age fruit. I wonder if there's changes in the way that you eat and the way that you appreciate food. I'm sure I wouldn't have liked a gin and tonic as a child, but as an adult, I can appreciate the bitterness in it as well as the gin.
And you're very right. I think perhaps marmalade for children, a grown-up marmalade is a bit too serious, whereas actually something like dare we say roses again, or a golden shred, those light jelly sweeter ones actually are very appealing to children. I've never really known which one Paddington wanted. Was his a grown-up marmalade or was it a children's one? I'm not sure.
That's a good point. I don't know which marmalade Paddington's was. Yes, we'll have to find out. So going back to the Seville Orange, they come in to the stores in January, and it's funny, I always think of citrus fruit as this summertime joy, but actually that's not quite the case. Where do they come from? I assume it's from Seville. What's their journey from the tree to?
Generally the ones that we use, yes, they come from Seville, in that little corner of southern Spain, Andalusia, where they grow so perfectly. But they're not just from Seville. You can get them from all over the world, certainly from South America, which is where Paddington came from. The South Africans produce some very nice Sevilles. I think perhaps they do in Australia. But of course, as far as we're concerned, because of, well, who's say what's going to happen now with and now we're not in Europe. We may begin to have citrus fruit from other countries, but at the moment ours are coming from Seville, and they're beautiful and they're bright and they're orange. We bought with Thursday Cottage. We bought some from South Africa in 1989, so we were able to make marmalade in December, not the January. So 10 years on, it was a 10-year-old marmalade for the millennium. Probably still got a jar or two of it as well, which is now 30 years old, but that's quite exciting.
In order to capture the best flavour from the Seville Orange, the best colour, what are the 3 essential things that homemakers should do?
I think you need to buy and use your Sevilles when they're as fresh as possible. And I know we all think they come with these nice thick coats on, their thick winter coats that they need on when they come to England. But really, if you can make it earlier in the season, the better, because you've got your pectin is good then, and the juice and the acidity is really bright. And I've been guilty of it. I've bought them and I've left them for 1, 2, 3 weeks. You think they're fine, but they are beginning to deteriorate. So I think for that absolute maximum freshness and lovely gel, to use them as quickly as possible. How do you keep the colour? And this is such an opening question, Dan, is if you're wanting to keep that lovely bright, that lovely brightness of the orange, then you need to be using a refined sugar. But as I say, this opens a whole new door for marmalade makers, and that whole question about who makes the best marmalade, because actually some people don't want that bright orange. Some people want a darker one, in which case they're going to be, you'd put a darker sugar in. So, but if you want what I call a classic traditional orange marmalade, where you can actually see the shreds, ought to have some here with me now, then you're best to use a refined sugar.
So tell me, at the Marmalade Awards, one of the things we prize in judging is to be able to open a jar of 100% Seville Orange marmalade, hear that pop as it comes off, and actually get the aroma of Seville oranges. How do you do that?
How do you do that, Dan? And I agree, it's an absolute joy. And I think if you can actually, as you say, pop it open and you smell it, you've actually got a really good marmalade. How do you do that? You don't overcook it. And I often think people have a tendency to always overcook. One of my, famous little phrases is that marmalade sets in the jar and not in the pan. So I sometimes get sort of comments from people, and they say, I cooked it until the marmalade was really, really almost set in the pan. But of course, it is actually going to set in your jam jar. You need to be able to pour it into your jam jar and not literally spoon it in. So I think that's an important point, is not to overcook. It's that setting point, it is elusive, and particularly when you're new to marmalade making. But I always actually say to people, you're better to undercook, and okay, you might end up with some jars of runny jam, or runny marmalade. But if you undercook, you can always actually just recook it again. But if you've overcooked, then you've actually got overcooked marmalade.
And say you've got all these Seville oranges and you want to not just make marmalade, but do other things with them. Any suggestions about what people can do with excess Seville oranges?
Say a lovely Seville orange curd is rather good. Because again, you're bringing in that wonderful fragrance and you're bringing in the acidity. So you're going to make a really good curd with that. You can make a lovely orange drizzle cake instead of a lemon drizzle cake. Even actually just a little bit of the orange peel. In fact, quite a nice thing to do is actually just take a slither of that orange peel off and actually put it in with your baking sugar, your caster sugar. So you've got a lovely, or as we flavour vanilla sugar, you can actually flavour and make it a lovely orange flavour. Also, any odd bits of peel you can just dry and put those in with a lovely beef stew, and that just brings in that little bit of citrusiness.
Pam, this sounds utterly amazing. My head is spinning thinking about this Seville orange sugar and maybe making a big sort of pound cake and having Seville orange marmalade inside it and the sugar on the top. It just all sounds really good.
Perhaps one of my favourites on that line actually would be a marmalade. Actually, you can flambe it with sherry.
Gosh, delicious, delicious. Thank you so much, Pam. This has been so enlightening. I feel I want to rush off into the kitchen right now and start making marmalade. And I hope everybody watching is inspired to find and love these amazing Seville oranges. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe down here, and we'll see you next time.